we are not filmmakers in a vacuum. We are not writers of poetry who can work alone in a small room. Filmmakers need a huge support structure of technology, of finance, of other people who are technology, who are use the technology of filmmaking. So it's very specific to where you live and the time you live in. So the things that allowed me to get started in filmmaking were in Canada 40 years ago. And those things don't exist now. So even for a Canadian filmmaker, I couldn't really tell them exactly how to begin their career as a filmmaker because everything has changed. Similarly, there you are in Moscow, and you are in a context because I don't know how much your government supports independent film. I got a lot of support from the Canadian government when I started. They were investing in small films and in big films, and most of my movies have had Canadian government investment in them, which really made them possible. I've never been a Hollywood filmmaker. This is very much a Canadian filmmaking that I've done, and it's been everything that I've done. You would have to say is independent filmmaking as well. At the same time, everything has changed now in terms of technology. You can shoot a movie with your iPhone, which would be a real movie, and you can edit it on your iPad, and you can do the sound mixing on your iMac. You can do that. This was never possible when I was starting to make films. So I have recently, for example, made a short film called The Nest, which you could perhaps find on the internet. And I shot it with a GoPro strapped to my head with one actress and with me being one of the characters. And it was in fact based on my novel. So if you might be able to find The Nest on the internet, it might be interesting for you to look at it. I shot that with just a few people helping me, and I shot it in my garage, where we usually park the car, and I was very happy with the result. And the actress in it, who's a wonderful French-Canadian actress, said to her it was the purest cinema making that small film. Now, that's something that could never happen when I started out making films, although there were underground films that were being made. In a way, that's what I was doing. But you couldn't post it to YouTube, for example, which is a way of distributing art films that you've made that never existed before, and you can do that now. You maybe cannot make any money doing it, and therefore it's hard to become a professional in the sense of it is a thing that you make money with, and that's how you make a living. But it's a new thing. The internet, those means of film distribution, and the independent ways that you can make film with just your phone, is an incredible thing. You still need to be able to conceive of things. You need to have actors. Or maybe you don't. You can always, you can make a movie out of drawings or out of clay figures, or there's so many ways that you can do that. So, but in terms of being a professional filmmaker who works with big crews in the normal sort of Hollywood sense, that is, as I say, it's so different depending on where you live and how you get sources of financing. But I can't really give you that kind of, the pragmatic kind of advice that maybe you're looking for. But I can say that the opportunities to express yourself cinematically are fantastically available and there now. You can do it yourself. You can do it for almost no money. Um, and that's a new thing. Um, that does not, even a film that you shot with your iPhone could end up at some film festivals. And I think film festivals have become an incredibly important new kind of distribution venue, because there are now I see there's a huge schizophrenia now in filmmaking. There's big Hollywood films or even big European films that cost a lot of money and they get distribution. And then there's films that only end up in film festivals and perhaps are only seen at film festivals. But because there are about 1,000 film festivals in the world now, you can make a film that only goes to film festivals and is seen by quite a few people. Once again, you don't get to make money doing that. You are not paid for that. The film does not earn money that way. So this is a huge problem. And in a way, I relate it to writing novels. There are very few novelists who make a living writing novels. Most of them, excuse me one second. Most of them teach writing or teach literature at a university or a school in order to make a living. Even Vladimir Nabokov was a teacher of literature until he wrote Lolita. Before that, he had written many novels in Russian and then in English. But he couldn't live on the money that those novels made because they didn't make any money. And so he had to teach. And so in a way with film, it might be similar that now we make art films, but we don't actually cannot live on the money that is generated by them. It's a strange new situation. It's a transitional situation. My last movie, Maps to the Stars, which had Hollywood's, John Cusack and Julianne Moore and Rob Pattinson, was mostly distributed digitally. It was mostly distributed through iTunes or maybe later Netflix. It had very little theatrical distribution. And even with that cast, it was not considered to be commercial enough to support a big, 3,000 film release or 1,000 film release in America. It was in maybe 20 theaters, that's it, that's all. And the rest was digital. So you see we're in a strange and interesting transitional time. Doesn't make it easy enough for someone beginning in some ways. But access to the technology is much, much more available, much more possible. Excuse me. So it's not exactly advice, but that's my feeling.